Hello and welcome back to Born to Rant. I'm Brandon, and this week we are crushing some Jolt Cola, wearing sunglasses indoors, and yelling, "Fight the planet!" as loud as we can. Because this week we are hacking into 1995's Hackers, written by Rafael Moreu, directed by Iain Softley, and starring just a killer cast that includes Jonny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie, Fisher Stevens, Lorraine Bracco, Jesse Bradford, Matthew Lillard, Laurence Mason, and Renoly Santiago. Okay, real quick, apologies if my voice sounds a little weird. I went and saw one of my favorite bands the other night and lost my voice, which was awesome. But anyway, I really don't care what anyone says. I love this movie, and I didn't even see it as a kid. Well, I mean, I was like 19, I think. I was living at my first apartment, and one of our friends that used to couch surf at our place a lot was talking about how Hackers was one of his favorite movies from when he was a kid, and I admitted that I'd never even heard of it, so we threw it on and just had the best time watching it as a group, and since then, I've gone back to it multiple times. I just think this movie rocks. It's so schlocky and cheesy, and the fashion in it is absolutely insane in the best way, and don't even get me started on the bad dialogue.
That shit. What are you doing? I hit you.
But even still, at the end of the day, I think this movie is just fantastic. Which is why today we are taking a look at how Hackers came together, everything that keeps us hacking in, and the movie's legacy over 30 years later. So like I said, I really didn't grow up with this movie. I came to it pretty late, but it's a movie that I just can't help but love and want to watch over and over again. Honestly, it kind of embodies the phrase 90s cool better than almost any other movie, except for maybe Spawn, but that's like WWE 90s cool. This is like cyberpunk 90s cool. There's just so many little touches I love about this movie, like the way people are always wearing sunglasses inside at night, or how hilarious it is seeing people bust out floppy disks like it's the pinnacle of technology, or the way it depicts hacking as being some sort of hyper psychological video game, or even just Matthew Lillard as a character.
Get one of those Gibsons, baby.
All of it just rocks and has me smiling throughout the entire movie. Plus, I think we get some genuinely great performances. Like, Lillard is always great and makes the most out of even the smallest roles, and Jonny Lee Miller is hamming it right the hell up. Like, I think he knows how silly this movie is and is just leaning right into it.
Yak, yak, yak.
Being aware of racial division.
Get a job.
Somehow Angelina Jolie manages to do the same, yet also take everything in the world very seriously. And I mean, what can I say about my boy?
I'm the freak, the phantom freak.
I love this guy, and it's a bummer that Renoly hasn't been in more stuff. But okay, before I start getting too deep into the movie, let's take a step back and learn a little bit more about how it all came together. And it all starts with screenwriter Rafael Moreu, who'd been interested in hacking since the 80s and started going to events hosted by 2600, the Hacker Quarterly, and the deeper he immersed himself in the world, the more he started to see how it could all be turned into a movie. As for our director, Iain Softley, he was actually sent the script by MGM because they'd been impressed with his first movie, Backbeat, which was a little Beatles biopic thing that I honestly had never even heard of, but it's got Stephen Dorff playing John Lennon in it, and I'm definitely kind of curious. Anyway, Softley read the script and really liked it and started to really see how it all could come together. And one thing I kept coming across over and over again when doing research for this video is Softley saying that he really visioned our main hackers as a rock band of sorts, which is why their laptops all have guitar straps and stickers, and that wasn't something I'd ever really noticed before, but it makes total sense. But more on the dynamics between our heroes in a bit. So with the script and director in place, MGM gave the movie the green light and a budget of $20 million. And as far as casting goes, it sounds like originally Matthew Lillard was trying to get the Dade role, and there's also some rumor that Tarantino was originally going to play the Plague, which doesn't seem that crazy given that Andrei Sekula, who shot Hackers, also shot Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. But my favorite bit of casting is Softley talking about doing chemistry tests between the different actors to really narrow his leads down, and as soon as Jonny Lee Miller and Angelina Jolie were in the room together, it was instant sparks, which makes total sense because the two would famously get married just about a year after this movie came out. Prior to filming starting, the cast actually had a full 3 weeks to hang out and get to know each other while also learning how to rollerblade and learning everything they could about both computers and hacking. Filming would begin in the fall of 1994, and it sounds like aside from the exterior location shots in New York, a majority of the movie was actually filmed in the UK at the famed Pinewood Studios. And filming would last through the spring of 1995, and based on what I could find, it seems like it was a pretty streamlined production with no big issues arising. However, when Hackers was released into theaters on September 15th, 1995, it would make just $3.1 million against its $20 million budget, and place fourth at the box office before before going on to make a worldwide total of just $7.5 million, making it a pretty sizable disappointment for MGM. However, this is the 90s we're talking about, so movies did not live and die by their box office numbers like they do now, because this movie has outlived a lot of other movies from the era, and I think a big part of that is the way it exploded on home video, because there weren't really a lot of movies like this at the time. Sure, you had stuff like The Net and Lawnmower Man that also deal with the early days of the internet, but I mean more that this was a movie for teenagers. Like, it wasn't a kid's movie, and it certainly wasn't a grown-up movie either, but it really did kind of land in the middle. Apologies for the interruption, but I wanted to just jump in and ask that if you're enjoying the video so far, that you take a moment to either like the video or subscribe to the channel. Born to Rant is a completely independent channel that uses no sponsors and no AI in the creation of my videos. And if that means anything to you at all, your support would mean the world. There's also a button beneath this video and a link to my Patreon in the description below if you'd like to support Born to Rant as a channel member. And with all of that out of the way, let's crush some Jolt Cola and hack into everything that makes Hackers an all-time classic movie.
Crash over rhyme. What was it? Mess with the best, die like the rest.
Now, if we're talking about what makes Hackers a classic, I think very little of it has to do with the plot. Like, it's both convoluted and simple. Rich business guy stealing money, thinks punk kid caught him, punk kid doesn't know what he's found, hijinks ensue, and then Matthew Lillard gives a speech about
Innocent hackers.
and it rocks. But what really makes this movie is the characters, the clothes, the sets, the music, the world, and the terrible one-liners.
There is no right and wrong. There's only fun and boring.
That is what keeps us coming back to the movie. So let's start with the characters. First of all, Jonny Lee Miller is great as Dade Murphy, aka
Zero cool.
aka
Crash override.
I mean, he's super silly, and some of his line deliveries are bonkers, but how can you not love this guy? Plus, the chemistry that he and Angelina Jolie have is immediately so palpable. Anyway, I genuinely love watching their relationship unfold. It's probably the strongest part of the movie from a storytelling perspective. Like, the way that they're able to play each other and keep one-upping each other is so much fun. The pool pranks are fantastic. The English scene is amazing. He and the boys accidentally interrupting her hooking up with Curtis is also great, and I love the way that they completely steal their attention away from that moment. Also, shout out to Curtis. He doesn't do anything, but I love that the movie calls out that the only thing he does is...
That's it, you're looking at it. He just looks slick all day.
Speaking of which, we gotta talk about Renoly Santiago as the Phantom Freak, and I just love the way he says pretty much every line he has in this movie.
Where are your brains, in your ass?
He gives this very flamboyant performance, but he's also kind of a hard ass. Honestly, a very ahead of his time character. I also love when he gets arrested and his mom starts beating him, and he yells at the cops to save him and arrest him already. Plus, I could listen to him yell and berate Joey all day. Seriously, it's so much fun. Joey, one of the best and worst characters, but Jesse Bradford is absolutely killing it as this chain-smoking, coffee-addicted child that just wants to hack into computers and cause problems. I also have to call out Laurence Mason as Lord Nikon, who I mostly know as Tintin from The Crow, which actually came out a year before this, yet he somehow looks 10 years younger here. I also love Nikon and serial killers dynamics, and like Lillard is killing it as usual. He makes so many great little choices, like the fact that he's always asking to stay with people and carrying around a toothbrush. And I think in any other actor's hands, this character would be 100% forgettable, but because it's Matthew Lillard, he ends up becoming one of the most beloved characters in the movie. But there's also still a bunch of adults in this movie giving great performances as well. Fisher Stevens is just incredible as the Plague. He honestly kind of reminds me of like JP from Grandma's Boy, but you know, not a cartoon character. Well, he is kind of cartoony, but you know what I mean. I also absolutely love him with Lorraine Bracco. They have such a weird relationship and dynamic, but it also makes me giggle. And finally, there's Wendell Pierce as Secret Service agent Richard Dick Gill, aka Bunk from The Wire, the greatest TV show of all time.
You happy now, you bitch?
All right, so with that, let's talk a bit about the filmmaking that went into this movie. First of all, there's the production design by John Beard and the costume design by Roger Burton. Like, all of the designs in this movie are insane. I love the way that New York turns into a circuit board when Dade first flies into the city.
Also, shout out to the song Halcyon On by Orbital that they used for this sequence, which of course was also used at the end of both Mortal Kombat and at the end of Mean Girls. All incredible movies if you ask me. Also, Simon Boswell's score is really something special that I think really makes the movie and world feel distinct.
And then there's the Cyberdelia nightclub, which is kind of like the Foot Clan hideout from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but if you turned it up to 11. Also, it was Psygnosis Entertainment that created the CGI for the Wipeout arcade game sequence, which is definitely a highlight of the movie, not only for the visuals, but for the way that Miller and Jolie play the scene. And the costume design, I mean, what can be said about this stuff? It really feels just so of the time, in the sense that in the early days of the internet, it really did feel like it was going to be the place for weirdos and freaks to hang out and really just be themselves. And instead, it kind of just became another playground for people to be bullies on. And for the record, I consider myself to be a weirdo, but everyone has iconic outfits throughout this movie. Some of my favorites are obviously everything Matthew Lillard wears, especially this sick Dead Kennedys cutoff. I also really love Kate's hockey jersey dress thing.
Not sure why Dade is wearing a fishing vest here, but whatever, it's cool. And I mean, Freak's fashion game is on another level. There's also Andrei Sekula's cinematography, which is just so rich. It almost feels like a music video in a lot of ways, but it just kind of has this very like pop art cyberpunk feel to it that is just very unique to this specific movie. At the end of the day though, I think it's the world of hackers that really keeps us coming back. It's the way that the hacking sequences have nothing to do with hacking, but kind of rock. Also, I do have to call out, I love the way this movie uses these little cutaways in the beginning, which actually feels very much like a precursor to memes or GIFs or like TikTok even, but that's neither here nor there. Also, just all the respect in the world to Softley for not using a ton of CGI in this movie, like he definitely could have, but what he did, while it still may look a little dated, at least has this practical charm to it that's just hard to deny. Plus, this room is so freaking cool. Like, I could hang out in here for days. I also really love how the movie goes into its big final set piece with them recruiting Razor and Blade to help them out. And I love the way they trick the cops with the payphones, and then the look of pure dread as the kids are caught right as they think they figured it all out. Then, like I said earlier, I love Lillard's insane speech. Like, yeah, they did catch a criminal, but also these kids are constantly bragging about committing cyber crimes throughout the entire movie. Also, why the hell did Bunk wait to arrest the plague until they were already in the air? That just seems impractical. Like, now you gotta finish flying to a foreign country and then just turn around and head back?
Damn right.
So, over 30 years later, what is the legacy of Hackers? Well, while it was a huge flop when it originally came out, it's absolutely gone on to become a cult classic, with Shout Factory even issuing it on 4K just a couple of years back. But I think a big part of the movie's legacy is just how optimistic it is about what the internet could be and what it could lead to. Like, yeah, it's corny and not the best written movie ever, but it has a vibe that is purely its own, and one that is so charming it's kept people coming back to it over and over again for over 3 decades at this point, and that's not nothing. But let me know in the comments, am I giving Hackers way too much credit? When was the first time you saw the movie? Do you also think that Lillard at the very least deserved an Oscar nomination for this role? If you've made it this far into the video, thank you for watching, and as always, an extra special thank you to my supporters over on Patreon and my channel members here on YouTube. I truly could not do it without your support. Don't forget that members get early access to all videos and access to member exclusive videos. And you can currently join on any tier on either platform for a free trial period and get instant access to those perks. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. It really helps me out more than you know. And that's going to do it for Born to Rant this week. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.